Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Can you let me know in the chat if you can hear me? I'm broadcasting on all three of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you're on any of those, I'd love to know if you can hear me okay. And if you're out there in YouTube or Facebook or Twitch land, hi, Didier. It's great to hear you. Great to see you. I'm happy to. Can you hear me on YouTube? That's terrific. Glad you're there. And Brady, glad to see you on Facebook. That's awesome. Very glad to have you all here. Welcome to Lucky Duck Live, July 1st. We're hi Vince. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for staying up late for this. We're very happy to have you here. So yes, welcome to Lucky Duck Live. And with no further ado, I will get started with our slideshow. I have a few things to show you and some surprises for you today. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but very quickly I'll run you through what I'm planning on showing you today. I'll take you very quickly through who we are in case you are not familiar with Lucky Duck Games, and a few details about how we've grown and changed over the last year. A little information about some new games that we have coming soon, and looking ahead into our future over the next year or so, and some exciting details about what we have coming up and what we're working on. And then we'll go into a Q&A where I'll open up to whatever questions you may have for me. So first and foremost, I wanted to talk to you about who we are. So Lucky Duck Games now has almost 60 employees around the world, and we've sold over 1 million copies of our digital hybrid games alone. So digital hybrid, I'll talk a little more about what this is in detail later, but this is our app-supported games like Chronicles of Crime, Destinies, Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy, and our flagship title, Chronicles of Crime, is available in an incredible 27 languages now. Yes, 60, almost 60. We have expanded our global publishing reach now to include Italy. That also includes Poland, which is where our headquarters is and most of our employees are, and France. And now we also have quite a few, well, a growing number of employees in the US as well. And this is a picture from our Lucky Duck Con just a couple of months ago with almost all of us in one place. We got together, we had some meetings, a little bit of business done, and then most of the time we spent just hanging out, playing games, getting to know each other, getting to spend some time relaxing and doing our own, having some personal time together. And I feel strongly that this is just a really important time for us to bond and just get a chance to build those personal relationships that enable us to work better together on an everyday basis. And of course, when you get us all together in one place, we can only be serious for so long. So we managed to all look at the camera for maybe, 30 seconds, long enough to take this picture. And then 30 seconds later, here we are. This is the real Lucky Duck, right? And now moving on to new games that we have coming up. I have some exciting announcements for you today. So first of all, I have a special guest. I'd like to welcome James Hudson to the stream. Hi, James.
Hey, how's it going?
So for anyone who, good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
For anyone who doesn't know James Hudson, although I don't know how you could possibly not, just James Hudson of Druid City Games. Druid City Games, you probably already know from Grim Forest, Sorcerer City, and maybe a little title called Tidal Blades. And we are now announcing a partnership with Druid City Games to bring... Oh, that wasn't what I meant to do. There we go. To bring a new game called Tidal Blades Banner Festival to retail. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to James to tell us a little bit more about Tidal Blades Banner Festival.
Yeah. Hey, y'all. Happy Friday. Tidal Blades Banner Festival. This is one we've actually had ready for a while. Worked with JB Howell and Mike Hilsick. They had a really cool concept quite a long time ago. And if you're familiar with JB Howell and Mike, they like to make big, heavy Euros. like Flotilla. And so when they first pitched me this concept of this game, I was like, it was like a 2-hour Euro game. And it was really cool. But the card mechanic that they had that drove the interaction, the player choices, I was like, guys, this card mechanic is really cool. Like, could you shrink the game down where it just focused on this card mechanic? And so they went back and they shrunk it down, and it turned into like a 90-minute game. And I was like, more. And then a 60-minute game. I was like, more. And then they finally came with this. And JB, before we even started that one, was like, listen, James, I'm not shrinking this down anymore. So this is either going to work or it's not. I was like, okay, I got you, buddy. I hear you. Because also, JB and Mike, they have a certain experience they want to deliver to. And I think we've struck the perfect chord here, because the card mechanic really is the heart of the game, but you've got several paths to victory that the different strategic card play is going to kind of influence. And so we say it's trick taking esque. It's a sophisticated trick taking esque game, because it's not a trick taking game in the
traditional sense.
In a traditional sense, yeah. Because in a normal trick taking game, you would whatever would make the highest outcome, and whatever that is that we're working together. Because there's a lot of different trick taking games that have different influences. You play it, everybody reveals their card, and then somebody pulls the trick. Well, in this game, there's a high. I mean, just like if you were playing a trick taking game, in the rank of order, each card is either first, second, third, fourth. So, but in this case, you've got the highest card played, you've got the lowest card played, and you've got everything in between. And what's cool is no matter where you fall on that grid, you get something. But when you pick your card, you are definitely gunning for one of those three categories. You're like, the benefit that I would get if I'm low card right now would be perfect for me, because it all depends on the board state. And so you're going to put your card out there, and you're going to simultaneously reveal them. And then I look at Bree and I'm like, you undercut me. You pushed me to the middle. So the game definitely has those stand-up moments.
And that definitely happened when we played this 2 players.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. It's in the design for that to happen. And it plays fast. It's a 30 to 45 minute game that allows you to kind of dip your toe into the Tidal Blades world with the beautiful art from Mr. Cuddington, which is, I know when people say Mr. Cuddington, that is a moniker. Mr. Cuddington is a husband-wife combo, David and Lena, and they're from Canada, and they're fantastic humans that I've worked with to build this Tidal Blades universe. So David and Lena, Mr. Cuddington, they're beautiful art. And I think something else that's important, Bree, if you want to throw me up on the screen so I can show off some of these components where people can see them. Like, I wanted, when we made this game, for it to have a Druid City Games deluxe feel. So even though it's just a retail game. So when we talk about like how much money you spend on a retail game, I maxed out the budget. I spent every penny that I could and still be able to offer this at $40 at MSRP. So you've got a beautiful box. This is going to fit nicely into a Calyx. It's 11 by 11 by 2.5. But even like little touches like the inside of the lid, the insert on the inside, it's really cool.
So beautiful.
The wood. This is all wooden tokens with silk screen. So all of those are really cool. And there are, to a lot of people's delight, let me find one. It's buried in the bag. There are jet ski meeples. So,
I love this so much.
So if you were a Loki fan, Owen Wilson, he's going to love this game. There's also a new squishy fruit. So you got a whole bag of new squishy fruit. This is a Goya star. Let me see if I can get my camera to focus. Come on, camera. You can do it. There we go.
There we go.
And it's glittery, and it's squishy, and it's pretty.
I love it.
And then you've got a big old deck of cards with beautiful Cuddington art on it, which is really cool.
Yes. And Brody Sheard says, nice meeples and squishies.
Squishies
Yes,
and meaties.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
Squishy meaties. And then
Looks yummy.
the board is again just everything about the game just kind of pulls you in. Even like the back of the art on the board, it's got the Title Blades kind of vibe and feel to it. So it's a very addictive game. You typically people play it the first time you play it. There's a little bit of like getting used to how the majorities work. And about halfway through the second round, people go, "I got it. Now I know how I want to strategize." And so when we're done, let's play this again. And it's just got a really small footprint, which is the opposite of most Druid City games. I know I get yelled at a lot about that my games are giant and they take up the whole table, and I need 2 tables to fit them on there. So this one's nice and compact, easy to get to the table, pack up, put away, all that good stuff. So we're just really excited.
I know I certainly had that I want to play it again right away feeling after we played it on Tabletop Simulator recently. Because you definitely have this moment of understanding where it's like, okay, this is really an area majority game where the trick taking part of it, you're not even really trying to take a trick. You're just using the high, middle, and low strategy to determine what will happen on your turn, or not even your turn because everybody's playing simultaneously, but what will happen on a turn you.
Absolutely. And there's, I don't know of any, I mean, I'm sure there are trick taking games that play 2-player, but this plays well at 2 players and it goes all the way up to 5 players. For me, I think the more the merrier. At 5, there is like some of your plans can definitely get thwarted because there's a bunch of other humans. 2-player is still very strategic the way that the card system works. So I think it plays well, and it's going to have a spot in people's collection, no matter the player count that they like the most.
So, hi Rock. And Brady asks if you're talking about Bloodstone next. It's not on this stream, but
No,
I
Brady,
figured I'd throw the question out there for you. Figured I'd throw the question out there for James.
But we have been doing a bunch of Bloodstone design work lately, so I'm definitely in that mode. Happy to jump on a call with you and talk about it.
I know that's certainly been in your mind. So I'll bring this back.
Yeah, Ken, I've played a lot of Super Fight in my day. That is for sure.
So go back to this very quickly. So we have, so as James mentioned, this game has been ready for a while. We're not quite ready to deliver it, but we are about to launch a pre-order for it. So that'll be coming next week. But I do have a link ready for you.
And one of the things that's, if I can sell everybody here, I know pre-orders, I don't do that many pre-orders myself. As you can tell, I have a lot of board games, but I have started to do them more recently. As I understand, they really do help the publisher. So, if you can swing it, we're going to be subsidizing the shipping on the pre-order. So we still do have to charge something for shipping. Because we're just not in the world where we're not Amazon. We can't just eat all the shipping costs. But it really does help publishers out a lot when you pre-order their games.
Absolutely.
You're also going to get the game sooner than we release it to retail. So there's an advantage of getting it first and having it out. And, and a lot of things can happen in the ocean freight world where retail gets pushed. So you may have it could be months ahead of everybody else. It just really depends. But, and you're guaranteed a copy, right? That's the other thing. We are all being a bit more conservative in the print runs that we do with the way the world and the economy is these days. So pre-orders guarantee that if you were a fan of Wonderland's War, you may find out like this. I'm not just saying this, right? Like you can't get. It's hard to find copies of Wonderland's War right now. So pre-orders, make sure that you get a copy and really help out the publisher.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Rock, your question about is Title Blades with Lucky Duck now. This is a new title in the Title Blades world, Title Blades Banner Festival. And actually, James, something that you mentioned the other day after we played the Title Blades 2 first scenario is how the way that these tie together with the other Title Blades games. So this is actually a separate title. This is I call it a trick taking an area majority game. It is primarily an area majority game with a trick taking like element. But the Banner Festival itself ties to that first scenario. And if you want to talk a little bit about that narrative element and the way that those tied together, I think people would be interested in hearing about that.
Yeah, so I probably spend too much effort on lore and world building for what board games need.
I don't know if there's any such thing.
There's a lot of people that would argue it, but people who don't put a lot of like the thinker themer team, right? Like one Maggie's more focused on the mechanics. So anyway, I get it. It's there. But so with this standalone game, if you watched any of the Tidal Blades 2 campaign, any of the prototypes that were played, the first scenario, our heroes are at this festival called the Banner Festival. And that's the first scenario when the citizens at this festival get attacked by the spine squid and they're getting pulled under the water. But that's what we're doing and trying to save in that first scenario. So it's a bit meta, right? Like it's meta that now we've pulled that out and this game centers around the Banner Festival and the actions and the things that are happening. And when you get into the our rule book, you've got some, I need to get out of here. Like you've got some lore that's going to kind of talk you through the Banner Festival and how it ties into the world, that sort of thing. But that's just stuff we care about. And, like right now we're busy obviously finishing up Tidal Blades 2, but we're also building the narrative in the world for where we want to take the story out long-term. And if other games, they will fit in. Like we're not just going to shoehorn something in that doesn't make sense. Like it's been thought out, it's been plugged in purposefully. And that's just how we like to do it.
And it looks beautiful. It plays incredibly. It's just such a terrific experience. It really pulled me in. And I love the way it connects narratively to the other games.
Yeah.
So yes, this has an MSRP of $39.99. It will be available for pre-order next week. So keep an eye on all of our socials, both Druid City Games and Lucky Duck Games. So we'll have a link available for this for pre-orders next week. And then we'll be delivering it towards the end of the year. Will it be available? Will we be able to see it at Gen Con, at least for some demo? So that is the plan. We do expect to have at least a copy available for a demo at Gen Con, but that we will not have it available for sale by Gen Con.
Putting stuff on boats and shipping it across the world, it's complicated these days.
Yep.
But hopefully it's feeling like it's starting to get less complicated. So hopefully that's the case going forward.
Hopefully, absolutely. Yeah, that's very much a fingers crossed situation.
For sure.
But yes, that is our hope. Rock is to be able to show it off. At least a demo copy.
Not buy it, but you should be able to demo it. Yeah, you should hopefully be able to demo it at Gen Con. So
yeah,
go by the
no, absolutely. Yep, definitely have a plan to be able to show it off as demos at Gen Con. And hopefully we'll be able to send out some review copies to additional content creators shortly as well.
And if you're interested, there's a couple of channels who have already started to cover it. You can just obviously go to the YouTubes and type in Banner Festival. There's not anything else called that, so you can see who's got coverage on it already.
Great. That's terrific. Well, I have more to share with these folks, and I think we've covered all that we can talk about so far about Banner Festival. There will be lots more to come. James and I will do some gameplay, and there will be lots more on other content channels. So keep an eye out for more about Tidal Blades Banner Festival in the
Bree, I'm going to actually take this copy and go down to the post office and send it to Vince to be at Dice Tower East. That's where I am.
Well, Vince, if you're awesome. Well, Vince, I saw you in the chat earlier. If you're still there, there is a copy that's literally on the stream right now that will be on its way to you this afternoon.
So go find Vince and they can play it with you.
Yep. If you're going to Dice Tower East next week, go find Vince. He will have a copy of this available. Well, I mean, I can't volunteer his time, but he will have a copy of this with him. This is this specific copy that James just showed.
That's right.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time today, James. It's been awesome having you on the stream, and we'll definitely do this again soon. We'll have to play this in real life on stream sometime.
IRL, yeah, for sure.
IRL play. Terrific. Thank you.
Bye, y'all. Happy Friday.
Bye. And moving right along, so thank you, Legends. Welcome to the stream. He says he just recently got Pocket Detective. I'm actually going to be talking about that in just a few minutes. Thank you for bringing that up. But before that, I have another big announcement to make. I wanted to say goodbye to James, and sorry, Legends, I just said goodbye to him right before you got this comment in, but he mentioned he just played Wonderland's War as Alice this past weekend after watching a video with James in it. I just actually played Wonderland's War while I was in Poland the month before last at Lucky Duck Con in the picture that I showed. Or, well, I'm not playing it in the picture, but when that picture was taken on that trip. It was just so gorgeous and so much decision making, and it was just a fascinating experience. I was really impressed with that game. So I have another announcement to share with you. Live today, in fact, this is live right now, we have just launched our pre-orders for Flamecraft. So this was a multi-million dollar, over $2 million Kickstarter, and we are now launching our pre-orders for this on for the standard edition on the Lucky Duck Games website. So you can actually pre-order Flamecraft Standard Edition now, and we also have deluxe components available for as add-ons as well. So yes, this is a hype stream. Exactly. There's more than one big surprise in the works, apparently. Surprise. Yes. You can temporarily be board game rim shot, but So Flamecraft Standard Edition. If you're not familiar with it, or if you want to know more about it, I also have the BGG link here for you. But I encourage you, if you haven't already pre-ordered this, or rather, if you haven't already backed this on Kickstarter, to take a look at our pre-order page, because Flamecraft is both gorgeous and the gameplay is, honestly, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased, but I have played this myself, and it's really very engaging and a lot of fun, and the art is it will just pull you into the world. So Flamecraft is a 1 to 5 player dragon placement and engine building game. It takes about an hour to play. It was designed by Manny Vega, who, if you are familiar with Sparkle Kitty Knights, those are also his designs, and art by the amazing Sandara Tang. It's available for pre-order now. We literally launched this pre-order today, so you are the first to hear about this. MSRP of $39.99 and delivery in Q4. Brody says, Flamecraft, awesome. Need to check it out. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I hope that you will. And Legend says, Bree tells me about a Lucky Duck game, and then I buy it. Seems like what happens this year. LOL. I love it. Thank you, Legends. And really, I hope that's because you're finding that you like the games that we're putting out. It seems like that's been the case up until now, and that's what we're trying to do is establish ourselves as a brand that we're putting out games that you enjoy, so that when you see the Lucky Duck brand on a game, that you don't need to know a whole lot about a game to know that it's probably going to be a game that you'll enjoy. Mario asks if Manny Vega is Latin American. Yes, in fact, he is. And Sparkle Kitty, the original Sparkle Kitty game, he made he originally designed it in partnership with his younger daughter, and it was really just like a work of just a passion project that he made, because she felt that there were no games that really represented her, and he wanted a game that had her in it. And in fact, he did all of the art, he did the original card set art for it, because he wanted to represent his daughter in that game. And that was kind of the passion behind that original design. Rolling with Rock says, I've really enjoyed everything I've played from you all so far. I know Mrs. Rock and I love the It's a Wonderful World campaign. I mean, you have all been hinting at things that I'm talking about later in the stream too. We have some good news about It's a Wonderful World coming back into stock too. Legends, my two favorite Lucky Duck games, Vikings Gone Wild and Destinies. That makes me really happy. I'm unfortunately Vikings Gone Wild is no longer in print, but Destinies has been one of our best sellers, and we continue to reprint it and bring more copies into the wild, and we'll try to bring it to more people. Legends says he needs It's a Wonderful World. Well, I have good news for you about that coming soon in this presentation. It should be easier to get your hands on it very soon. So a little bit more before that about Flamecraft, because I do want to clarify the differences between the standard and deluxe editions. The deluxe edition is what was available on the Kickstarter, and the standard edition is what we are selling on our pre-order. So the standard edition comes with the items that I've bullet pointed here are what's shown in the picture: the wooden dragon meeples, which are silk screened, and the wooden heart tokens, also silk screened, cardboard items and cardboard coins, and the magical cloth down mat. Now, the magical cloth down mat may or may not actually be magical, but it is absolutely gorgeous, and it rolls up and fits in the box, which I personally think on its own is magical, because games that have mats that fit in the box are few and far between, and the box is designed to fit all of the components, including the game mat. And the game board is the game mat. There is no alternative like cardboard or paper-based folding board. We also have some of the deluxe components from the Kickstarter available as add-ons. So the minis, the Dragon minis, the upgraded wooden components, and the metal coins can all be purchased separately on our website as add-ons. Mario is asking if we'll have Flamecraft Deluxe available at Gen Con. We won't actually have either version of Flamecraft available for purchase at Gen Con. This will be a Spiel release, an Essen Spiel release later this year. And I can't actually say for sure whether we will have the deluxe version available at Spiel either. We will definitely have the standard edition and the add-ons there. There may or may not be deluxe editions there. Then that depends entirely upon whether we have extras after we have completed, or after Cardboard Alchemy has completed the fulfillment of the Kickstarter, because the deluxe editions are being printed for the purpose of fulfilling the Kickstarter, and it will only be the extras from that printing that we would be able to sell at conventions, if there are any. Rolling with Rock says, those minis look sweet. Gosh, I'm a sucker for deluxe editions, Mrs. Rock, and our wallet, not as much. I completely understand. But one thing that I will say that's really nice is that even without those, this game is so beautiful. Even just if you look at the picture here, we've got the silk screen dragon meeples. They really are incredibly adorable. And the silk screen heart tokens, and they're already quite beautiful. I know I don't have an image of the town mat here, but that's actually the same in all versions of the game. So you're going to get the cloth town mat it's the same in the deluxe version as it is in the standard edition. So next up, speaking of It's a Wonderful World, we have this is not news in the sense that it hasn't been a secret, but we are publishing It's a Wonderful Kingdom, which is the 1 to 2 player follow-up to It's a Wonderful World. Now, this was originally, just like It's a Wonderful World, originally released through Kickstarter by Le Boîte de Jeu, and originally published in French. We are their English language partner in North America. And Dantalaris says, and pre-order done. Thank you. I appreciate your quick call to action. So It's a Wonderful Kingdom. We are partnering with Le Boîte de Jeu to bring this game to North America in English. This is the 1 to 2 player I Cut You Choose, an engine building game. It's a spiritual successor to It's a Wonderful World. It plays in about the same amount of time, 45 to 60 minutes, and this will be a Gen Con release with an MSRP of $44.99. So we will have copies of this for sale at Gen Con, and if you've played It's a Wonderful World, which some of you were just talking about in the chat, you'll find that the engine building part of this game is very similar or nearly identical, really, to It's a Wonderful World. So on the engine building side, you are taking cards that have resource placement icons on them. And as you collect resources, you're placing them on those cards to complete them and add them to your kingdom. And once they're part of your kingdom, they will help you to collect more resources on later on that turn or on future turns. But the main difference between the two is the draft in It's a Wonderful World in this game is instead an I Cut You Choose mechanic. So on any given turn, instead of getting a hand of cards that you select from and then passing it to the other player, you're choosing in turn a pair of cards, 2 cards from your hand, and offering them to the other player. And you have the game board in between the two of you, and you're choosing to place the cards on one side of the board or the other side of the board, or you can split them up and put 1 card on each side. And then your opponent chooses one side of the board to take all of the cards from. And then that goes into their pile of cards that they will be building or recycling on this round. But before they build or recycle those, we need to go through the whole process of going through the I Cut You Choose process for all of the cards in both of our hands. So they will then choose 2 cards from their hand to offer to me, either 2 on one side of the board, 2 on the other side of the board, or splitting across the 2. But the card, if I put a card on one side of the board that they didn't choose, then it will still be there on my turn to select. And now they have to choose whether they want to leave that out there for me to select on its own with 2 cards on the other side, or if they want to add to it. So there's a lot more strategic player interaction in It's a Wonderful Kingdom, direct one-on-one interaction. There are also modules in this game. In fact, you have to choose a module to play with every time you play. So some of the modules add creatures who are attacking your buildings as you're trying to build them up. They're trying to tear them down. You've got calamities that you can play you can sometimes play face down by using your trap tokens on any turn, which make it so that your opponent can't tell whether you've played a card that they want or not. And so you can use those to sometimes trick someone into taking a card that they don't want, or maybe leaving a card out there for you to take because they thought it was a bad card, and then you get to take it on your next turn. Otherwise, all of the cards are played face up. And then there's also a quest module where you and your opponent are both competing to complete steps of a quest, and everybody can complete each step and get the reward for it at any point during the game. But the last stage of the quest is required, and if you don't complete it, you are not eligible to win at the end of the game. So it doesn't matter how many points you have. If you haven't completed step 4 of the quest, you just can't win. So if you have 30 points and your opponent has -2, but they completed the quest and you didn't, they win. So this will be, as I mentioned, a Gen Con release. We will have it available for sale at our booth with an MSRP of $44.99. And the other news that I mentioned, where Legends DM, you mentioned you need It's a Wonderful World. Well, this has been out of stock in our warehouses for quite a while. So there have been a lot of stores that have been asking us where they could get it. And we haven't been able to supply it to them. And this has just in the last week or so been remedied. So we now have this back in stock in our warehouse, and we're starting to be able to get this back into stores right now. So we should be able to, in fact, I think, let me see if I've set this up. Yes. So I have a link here where you can get to this on our website, and this should also be getting back into distribution, into retail stores in the not too distant future. And that includes both expansions. So we have restocked all 3 of these items. So next up, I have a new title also coming out later this year. We're hoping for probably around September, and this is a new title in our Lucky Duck Kids line called Turtle Splash. So this one is an absolutely adorable game, and it's a 2 to 4 player dexterity and memory game for ages 5+. It plays in 15 or 20 minutes and features unbelievably cute animal art. And in fact, you can see my favorite animal in the game right here, this little red panda. And yes, this will be a Q3 release, hopefully in September, in the Lucky Duck Kids line, and it will retail for the MSRP of $24.99. And for this one, it's so cute, and it's so important to see how it plays in action that I actually have it set up on my table over here, and I'm going to move over to my other streaming table so that I can show it to you before we move on to the next title. So I'm going to mute my mic for just a second and switch over to my other camera so that I can show this to you before we look to the next title. I've switched over, and I'm going to mute my mic while I move it because it's going to make a lot of noise. So I will be right back. If you Legend says if you put turtle in the title, I have to buy it. Well, I'll be honest with you. I demoed this for about a half dozen people at Origins, and none of them were 5 to 9-year-olds, even though that's the recommended age group for this. All of them were adults, and everyone wanted to play the full game. So I think that you'll be potentially pleasantly surprised, even though this is marketed as a kid's title, how much fun this is for adults as well. I will be right back. Hello again. Let me know if you can still hear me. Panda on the box, 10 out of 10. Yep, there is indeed. There's the cute panda. And I actually left this in the box instead of setting it up. When I went to do this, I was like, well, I was originally planning to have this set up and ready to go, but then I thought, you know what? I'll let you guys see the inside of the box and how this is packaged because it's actually pretty cute. And also, I really love the way this comes in the package already built. So this is the box. There's the panda. There is the red panda. So cute. And every single one of these little guys is wearing some sort of swimwear. And here's my other favorite, little orangutan. Love him so much. So when you open the box, what you'll see is this is actually how aside from some punch board, this ramp comes pre-assembled. So you have this ramp just like this in the box. You don't have to pull this out and put it together yourself. And then you've got all of this So you've got your player boards, and this is the lake. But then the main thing I wanted to show you is that this is what the box looks like once everything has been pulled out of it. So it's all, even when it's empty, it's still beautiful. It's got the little animals printed on the inside. And then the setup is literally that. So now the board is set up, and I'm going to take one of these player boards. The player board is sort of like a bingo card. So it's got 3 starting spots, and then each row has a series of animals, and they're all just in a different order. So you can see like this, that each player will have their own series of animals to play. And you get a beach ball for each row. And you're trying, your goal at the end of the game is to move your beach balls to the end of your row first. So you want to be the first player to get all your beach balls to the end of the row. This is the turtle. All of the animals are already in the pool, except the turtle who's running late. That is the story behind this game. You now have the whole backstory. And now we're taking the animal tiles, which is all the animals you've seen already, maybe a few more. They correspond to the pictures on the player board. And we're just going to set up a little grid. If you've ever played Memory, this may be quite familiar. I just want to make sure that you can see this on camera. I might have to move this over here. Okay. So on your turn, you'll take this little turtle token, which is, I don't know if I showed you, but it's actually fairly thick piece of wood with the turtle printed on both sides. It's not really focusing, but you can get the idea. And you will give it a flick and try to get it into the middle of the lake. And this lake center is actually a little bit of a cutout right here, so that it's very clear when you're in the middle. Where I landed right here is the outer ring, and then there's another little lip right here. So you've got the center, which lets you flip over 3 tiles. The outer ring lets you flip over 2, and then outside of that lets you flip over 1. So where I landed, I get to flip over 2. So I'll flip over these 2, and neither of these, which is these 2 animals, are what I flipped over. They don't match anything that my beach balls could move to. If they had, I would advance the matching beach ball. And even if they had both matched in the same row, I could potentially move it up 2 spaces. But since they don't match anything and I don't get to move a beach ball at all, I get a swim ring. This will let me flip over an extra tile on my next turn. So then it would be the next person's turn, and they get to flick, and this is in the center, so they would get to flip over 3. And let's say that they were playing with this board. Well, they saw me flip over both of these animal tiles on my turn. So they would probably want to flip these over because they can remember that I flipped those over, and they want to advance their tokens too. And then, so they would get to move these 2 up, and then they would flip 1 more tile because they're here in the middle. But and see that they get to move this one more because this one was also a match. And then it would be back to me. And that's actually the entire game. It's just going back and forth, playing up to 4 players, going around. You flick the turtle into the middle. That tells you how many tiles you get to flip. You get an extra tile if you have a swim ring, and you're racing to be the first to complete your row of animals. I'm going to move my mic back very quickly so that I can see your comments. I'll be right back. Legends DM says, Amanda Panda on the box. A lone shark likes red pandas. I like turtles, and I always go to see the elephants when I go to the zoo in Nebraska. People don't know, but I used to collect turtle stuffed animals, and I had a few turtle necklaces. I love that. Well, people know now. Panda and red panda automatically made me think of panda and a lone shark as well. That's very cool. Well, maybe I'll have to talk to them about covering this game when I get back to when I get review copies. I knew I was forgetting something. Let's move back to my camera. Here we go. Oh, Manny. Hi. Cuban American, he says. Thank you for joining us. I'm so happy that you're here. So yes, we were just talking about you. We were talking about Flamecraft and our pre-orders, and I told them a little bit about your background with the story behind Sparkle Kitty and your design with your daughter. Indeed, interesting and appealing for kids. Thank you. Yes, I'm excited to share this with kids and adults. I was honestly kind of blown away by how much fun it was to play with adults alone without any kids even present when we were at Origins. And I can't wait to send out review copies and see what people think about this. BH says that's adorable and very easy to play. It is so much fun. I'm excited for this one. Let's go back to that one. This one. There we go. So now going back to another one that Legends mentioned earlier, Pocket Detective. So this is actually a title that we've already released. We had 2 new titles come out at Origins and UK Games Expo just a couple of weeks ago. Pocket Detective is one of them. So in Pocket Detective, you are there were 3 cases in the box, each one in a deck of cards. And the first couple of cards in the deck will have the instructions for that case on it. They'll tell you how to set up the case so that you're splitting up the deck into multiple smaller decks that may represent a location or a person or a group of people that you can interact with. And once the case is set up, you have complete freedom to explore and investigate the leads that it has presented you with to the extent that you wish to. So, for example, this case that is shown here in the upper right-hand corner, the first couple of cards will walk you through the process of setting it up, just like this one. Legends mentioned that the third deck had a loose card on top. Yeah, that's the way this got printed. It's just the card was supposed to be in that shrink wrap deck, and it wound up outside of the shrink wrap. But the card belongs on top of that deck. So the instructions will walk you through how to get to this starting setup, and it will also give you these starting leads, which in the middle of this the setup, you can see there's some what look like Polaroids that show you the crime scene, and you can choose which, or if you want all of these leads you want to follow. And some of them might have a time symbol on them, or when you flip them over to follow the lead, it might have a time symbol on them. Meeple Conrad is asking which game. This game is called Pocket Detective. I'll go back one slide to show you. So Pocket Detective is it's not Chronicles of Crime. It's actually a separate game altogether. It does not use an app. So that's the biggest distinction that I want to make sure that you see. So once you've gotten to this setup, you can actually choose, for example, to look at this on the far left. This first lead right here would be the body that you're looking at in this crime scene. And if you investigate this body, it will tell you that you need to send this to the coroner and then wait to get the autopsy back. but the autopsy will take a certain amount of time to get back from the coroner, and you need to go do something else while you wait for that to happen. So a certain, like, 7 time, I think it requires 7 time to have passed, and that time is this clock symbol in the upper left corner of the cards, of the lead cards. So now you have to go investigate something else until you find other leads that have the clock symbol on them, so the time has passed to show that things have happened until before you're able to actually get your hands on the coroner's report and find out what the autopsy has to tell you. There is never anything in this game that will prevent you from following a lead, so you have complete freedom to follow every lead if you so choose. But your score at the end of the game will be determined in part by how many clock symbols you have revealed. So ideally, it's you want to try to choose the leads that you follow based on what you think is most relevant to solving the case. The other title that we released at Origins and UK Games Expo was Sherlock Case Connection. And Maple Conrad asked a really interesting question about Pocket Detective, which is also relevant and a question that we've been getting asked about Sherlock Case Connection. So this is a puzzle game for 2 to 4 players. It's competitive. It's a game where you are visiting a location to gather evidence. You're getting proof tokens and thread cards. You're collecting threads and connecting them to your plot card to complete your theory of the crime or your crime board. And this visually, when you're done with completing this puzzle, will look a lot like a crime board that you might have that you might see like at a police station or in a cop show, for example. But this is not, again, like you were saying, like you were asking Maple Conrad, this is not Chronicles of Crime. So, in fact, this is what I have on the next slide. What Sherlock Case Connection is and what it isn't. So it is a 2 to 4 player competitive puzzle game. It's a pattern building game with light player interaction. So you are using your plot card. You've got a plot card, and you're using these thread cards and proof tokens to connect those cards together and to try to build your theory of the crime and make your most efficient and accurate and highest point scoring theory of the crime. And as you complete those as you complete that puzzle for yourself, you will score points for it and start a new one. And the goal is to score 9 points. Once someone has scored 9 points, everyone gets one more turn. Everyone else gets one more turn, and then the highest score wins. What Sherlock Case Connection isn't is a crime-solving game, a digital hybrid game, or a narrative adventure game, which is not, in other words, it is not a Chronicles of Crime game. And that's something important to know going into it, because it is a fun, competitive puzzle game, but it's important to have your expectations set that it is not Chronicles of Crime. But that being said, will Lucky Duck make another Sherlock game? We do have another game in the works at in our studio. So our studio team, which designs all of our digital hybrid games, they're the designers of Chronicles of Crime, they're the designers of Destinies. They are working on another Sherlock game. It will not be published this year. We're targeting next year to publish it. It is a completely new game in a completely new system. So it is not a Sherlock game in the Chronicles of Crime system. It's a completely new system. It is still a criminal investigation game, and it is still a narrative digital hybrid experience, but it is not Chronicles of Crime. It doesn't even have a title yet, so I can't tell you that. I don't even have another slide to show you for this, because there's very little that I can tell you beyond what I've said already. But we do plan to bring it to retail, and we're targeting next year for bringing that to you. The the goal for the type of game is to, I mean, obviously I've talked about the mechanics. The game itself is designed to be faithful to the Sherlock TV show's tone and sense of humor. So that's the kind of game that you can expect from us, and that's what we're working towards for our future game with the Sherlock IP. And speaking of digital hybrid, and this is something that is obviously near and dear to our hearts. It's, you know, Chronicles of Crime and Destinies are pillars of our success, and something that we plan to continue with and build upon for future titles as well. And give me just 1 second here. I want to make sure. Right. Okay. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what digital hybrid is and what we've been doing with it and what we have planned for it in the future. So what is digital hybrid? So, you know, we talked a little bit about Chronicles of Crime, Destinies. As we see it, board games in which play is enacted through both physical components and a digital element. And Board Game Geek actually has 366 entries under the family of components digital hybrid app or website required. Destinies are one of our flagship titles, just won the UK Games Expo Award, which you can see in the upper right corner of this slide, for best digital hybrid game. And in fact, this was the first year that they have had a category for digital hybrid game. So we're incredibly excited to be selected as the best digital hybrid game in this inaugural year for the category. So at that show, at UK Games Expo, my friend and colleague, Az Drummond, gave a talk about what digital hybrid is and the guidelines that we at Lucky Duck follow, that our studio team follows, to make sure that our games consistently deliver a high-quality digital hybrid experience. So I just wanted to tell you some of the pillars that we use in our design process, so that you have a better understanding of what we take into account, what we consider important and really critical to making a digital hybrid game. Because there's certainly a lot of there were some hurdles in the game community. There are certainly people who are reluctant to purchase or play a digital hybrid game. It's not the there are times where there are people who I've just recently saw in one of the board game groups a topic posted about asking if apps in board games are a red flag. And I was really impressed, actually, because there were hundreds of comments on this post, and it was surprisingly not confrontational. People were very thoughtful in the responses that they gave, and some people were for it and some people were against it, but they were quite they're not confrontational with one another. But one of the things that we do find is that there are quite a lot of people who need to be convinced. And so we have established this set of pillars that we show as the way that we put our conscious effort into making these games accessible and essential to the experience, and also that we are committed to keeping the app alive beyond any support that we may be able to offer. So the pillars that I wanted to share with you today are: it's important to us, it's critical to us that any game that we publish in the digital hybrid category has an app that is essential to the experience. It's not added on without a good reason. It's not added on at all. The game is designed around having an app as a core concept, as a core part of the game. Only one device is ever required to play. There's never a need for another player or all players to have a device. There will only ever be one required to play. The only time internet access is required is to download the app, or to download additional DLC. But while playing, once you've downloaded and installed the app, you don't need internet access. That's also a requirement for our designs. And then we have what we call our digital hybrid promise, which is that we will support our games. We will continue to support our games, and at any point in the future, if we are ever not able to or choose not to support our games on the platforms that we're offering them on, we will make them open source, and that is our commitment. That's the approach that we are taking to make sure that the people who are concerned that an app may not be supported and their game might not be, that people who are concerned that their game might not be playable at some point in the future because the app is no longer supported, we have committed that we will make our software open source so that will never be a concern. Just scrolling back quickly through comments to see if anybody had any questions, but it looks like everybody was just it looks like you were talking to each other, which I love. So moving to the Destiny's community editor and writing competition. So this is, if you are familiar with Destiny's the Destiny's writing, Destiny's community editor, or if you're not familiar with it, rather, we recently launched this. It works similarly to the Chronicles of Crime community editor, which allows anyone to create scenarios for the app using the physical components from the game. So this is, it's been around for a while for Chronicles of Crime, and there were many community created scenarios available for that game. It's brand new for Destiny's, and in fact, we have just started to see people diving into the creation process, and it is a fairly there's an investment involved with creating a game for this, with creating a scenario using this editor. So we don't have any community created scenarios available through the app yet, but we do expect to see them showing up soon, in large part because we're offering this scenario writing competition, which is running through October 1st and awarding a total of $5,000 in cash prizes to people anyone who enters or submits, rather, a scenario between now and October 1st is potentially eligible to win up to $2,500 cash for first place. Carly, our community editor, or our community manager, is also running a series of live streams to guide the community through the scenario building process. So, sorry, I missed this comment from a couple of slides ago, but open source, nice to hear that it will not die if it's not supported. And that's really, that is our goal, is to make sure that the apps, that our software are always available. If for any reason we're ever not able to support it, that we will absolutely make it available to be continued and supported by the community. So the best way to get involved and to get all of the information that you might want or need to start working on your own scenario for Destinies is to join our Discord. And I have a link for that right here. So, and honestly, even if you're if you're not interested in actually creating a scenario for Destinies, but you just want to get involved with the Lucky Duck community, or if you want to know when scenarios are available that have been submitted by the community, I encourage you to join the Discord, because there are lots of other people involved in the Discord who are not necessarily also writing for the competition or writing scenarios in general. But this is also a terrific way to get involved if you are working on a scenario, because we're definitely encouraging people to work on these scenarios together, even if you're working on different projects, working on them. We have a creator chat channel in the Discord where in the Choose Your Roles channel, you can opt in to the creator role, and that will give you access to the creator chat and where you can actually talk to each other, ask questions. If you're having any kind of issues with using the editor, or if you're just not sure about how something works, Carly's in there all the time answering questions. And it's just a great way to get involved with the community and see what other people are working on, see how other people are getting creative with the tools. So I would love to see some of you in the Discord. And with that, I would love to answer questions for anybody. And yeah, if anybody has anything that we haven't covered already, anything you'd like to chat about, this is the time to pop them into chat. And otherwise, I will be on the Twitch side. I'll probably be looking for someone to raid, and elsewhere I will be wrapping up the stream relatively soon. So Didier has 2 questions. Turtle Splash Q3 release in the US? Yes, actually it is. Turtle Splash will unfortunately be a US only release. We're releasing it through, we're partnering with Gigamic to release this in English. They do have partners releasing it in other territories, other partners, and we do not have the license to release it outside of North America, unfortunately. Earth Kickstarter, I don't know. I don't have anything on Earth Kickstarter. That was not us. Do I know if VF will be shipped at the same time as VO? So Earth, I'm sorry, Didier. Earth was Inside Up Games. We do partner with them for the World Publishing Program to publish their games in languages other than English, but we are not publishing Earth in English, so unfortunately I don't have any answers for you about their Kickstarter. Very sorry. Legends DM wants to know which Lucky Duck game I have played the most. Oh, yeah, sorry, didn't hear. Never mind for Earth. Yes, localized by Lucky Duck. Probably the one I've played the most often is King of 12, and that's largely because I can play it quickly. It plays in like 15 or 20 minutes, so I can play 4 or 5 sessions in a single, 4 or 5 playthroughs in a single game session. Which game I've spent the most time playing? Probably Destiny's. Most hours overall is very likely Destiny's, although It's a Wonderful World might even give it a run for its money just because I love that game so much, but I don't think I've spent as many hours on It's a Wonderful World as I have on Destiny's. Myth and Folklore update. It is still in manufacturing. We're not quite there yet. So yes, it's still coming, but we're not quite there. I will shout to the world as soon as it's in our warehouses, but we don't have it yet. I'm very sorry to say. So I'm just taking a look to see if there's anyone on the Twitch side it makes sense to raid. If anyone has any suggestions for a Twitch channel to raid, I'm happy to take suggestions. How many board games are behind me? Actually, right behind me, not that many, because what I have here are just Lucky Duck titles. Most of my personal game collection is downstairs. So downstairs, probably somewhere in the 250 to 300 titles, 250 to 300 games. But right here, like this is actually mostly books. And I have all of our games All Lucky Duck titles that I own are here, and everything else, all of my games, other than that, are downstairs. Too bad for Turtle Splash, but we'll import it with the help of my family in Arizona if needed. My pleasure. It's absolutely, and it will be available in Europe. It's just not from Lucky Duck. So looking for only board game channel I see on Twitch right now, other than us, is Gen Con TV. No one else seems to really be live right now. So unless somebody has a suggestion, well, that will probably be where I go. So with that, I'm going to very quickly raid from Twitch, and then I will be wrapping up the stream. I wanted to thank all of you for joining me today and sticking around for a little longer of a stream than I expected, but I have very much enjoyed spending this day with you and look forward to bringing these titles to you, demoing them for you when I have them in hand, and hopefully seeing many of you at upcoming conventions and getting to play a game with you in person sometime soon. And hopefully distributing and sharing some hugs, virtual hugs now, in-person hugs soon. I miss you all. I hope to play games with you. We'll raid Gen Con TV over here, and then I will be ending the stream. Bye, everyone.